Oh, we're back, baby. He's back.
Let's
He's
go.
back. Welcome in. Browns Daily on a Thursday edition. Merely Beau. The great Z returns. He does. Look at the team you're walking into here, brother.
Huh.
Look at this squad.
Oh, boy.
Are you kidding me, this squad? What are we
Zegura,
talking
Bishop,
about
Gibbe,
here?
we're loaded, baby.
Unbelievable.
The on-air light, we're illuminated. What a squad we got. Oh, you mean Clowney.
We're
you mean
illuminated.
You mean Clowney.
Jeez.
That's right.
The embarrassment of riches. The embarrassment of riches.
Let's go.
Man, it was so cool to have. It was so great having you on off the top yesterday. It was so cool to have this happen yesterday. You know, it was one of those things. Gibby asked me on Tuesday's show. He's like, "What's the one thing that the Browns want to see or need to see from Clowney on his visit?" And my response to that was his signature on the line, which is dotted. That's it. That's what you. There's nothing else you need to see. We've seen everything else. That's what we wanted to see was a signature. It's one of those things, like, until it's done, you know, there's always a little bit of trepidation because you never know with these things. I mean, it's not as if you and I have done emergency podcasts for guys who were signed and then not signed. So, I mean, it's
not like
these
that.
things
No.
happen from time to time.
They do.
That's never happened. So this to get it done was awesome. To bask in the glow of it last night, and to think about it this morning from the perspective. And I closed the show with this yesterday. And I understand, certainly, and this is not an organizational stance at all. This is, a guy on the radio. But this is a Super Bowl contender.
Yes.
This team is a Super Bowl contender. And it's not something that you should shy away from. And that doesn't mean that things can happen. Injuries can happen. Crazy things can happen. It takes a million bounces of luck to go your way to achieve that. But there is no question that the Cleveland Browns is currently constructed, Z, before the NFL draft has even taken place, are one of the 5 best rosters in football. That's the reality of what's been done here in the last 2 years.
100%. 100%. We should be, we should be predicted to go, I think, to the AFC Championship right now. And then, you've got to play for the right to go to the Super Bowl. But that's where, on paper, that's where we are. That's who we are. And we, to your point, we haven't even drafted yet. But that is who we are right now. An unbelievable collection of talent. You addressed the offense last year, the defense this year. And, there are going to be high expectations. And, frankly, there should be. And I think we've got a lot of guys now in this building who have either been on teams in the NFL or certainly come from the college pedigree where you are expected to win every time you go out on the field. And that's what the Browns are going to be. We are going to be favored in the vast majority of our games, as we should be. My man Teddy walking through here. Let's go. Everybody's fired up because this is, look, it's real. This is real. This is a real thing that has been put together in a masterful way. The salary movements and what they were able to convince people to do, I think, is nothing short of as spectacular as the names that have been brought in. And, I had a chance to talk with Jadeveon Clowney. We're going to play that today on our program, an exclusive one-on-one with Jadeveon from yesterday. Andrew Berry, you got to give Andrew Berry a lot of credit. When you listen to this interview, Andrew Berry wanted him. And I can't wait to talk to AB because I feel like what he's going to say to me is scouting Jadeveon Clowney was one of those things that made me fall in love with scouting. And so when you have those kind of guys, you want to get them. And I think he wanted him here. He made that known. Clowney even said, look, I wish I took a visit last year. I didn't want to. I changed agents. My new team around me, they said, take a visit. I was blown away. He loved Andrew Berry. And then I said, so what happened? Walk us through the 2 weeks. Said Andrew Berry, man, he would not. He wouldn't leave me alone, and he's like, I knew I was wanted. I like that. They blew me away with the plan they had, not just for the organization and the team, but for me as I fit in this team, and it was all music to my ears.
Yeah.
And so he said, let's do this. So that meeting 2 weeks ago, that secret clandestine meeting that nobody knew about, he was in this building, home, before anybody knew about it, was a massive meeting.
No one knew.
And he said, look, I came here to sign. When I was coming up here, this wasn't for another meeting. I knew I was coming here to sign. I was ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, we talk so much about, obviously, AB and his determination, his messaging, and it all sounds the same with him and Coach and Paul. They all speak in a similar way, and all of them are egoless.
Yes.
and yet also have all the answers, which is an incredibly difficult, kind of needle to thread. A great deal of credit to our ownership as well, who is willing to write these checks. If you look at the Clowney deal and you look at the signing bonus portion of this and how this is able to be done without having to restructure other guys on our roster, which is a pretty remarkable thing, how all this has happened, a big credit to them. And a big credit to believing in something a couple of years ago, because if you think about where we were, at the dismissal of Freddie Kitchens and John Dorsey, and John Dorsey did a great job here. There's no question in terms of talent accumulation. Big, good job. But you think about where this organization was going to go, you had to hit it. You had to hit on these hires. You had to, because it was at such a tipping point that could have gone one way or the other. And to say that there was something in Paul, there was something in Kevin from the previous year on those interviews, from AB, who had been in the building before, and to say that's it. That's where we need to be. And to be able to make those moves and have the guts to make those moves at the time when a lot of people doubted you. Man, did a lot of people doubt you. And you look at it now 2 years later, Z, and I mean it. And I know I'm with you. Like I would say, like AFC Championship game. The Kansas City Chiefs are more accomplished. They have won a Super Bowl. They have an MVP of the league and a guy who's going to have a gold jacket at quarterback. But they have more questions than we do.
Absolutely. We have as complete a roster
you
as
saw
there
their
is
offensive
in the
line.
NFL.
You see their defense. I was trying to think of one that was more complete. Tampa was the first one that came to mind. Tampa is more complete or as complete. But there are no questions on this roster. There aren't. And you haven't drafted, which is crazy that you could put a team out there right now. I suppose if you want to dig for things, you would say, all right, well, we need Greedy and Grant to continue to be healthy and get back to where they were, 90% of where they were. That's a big part of it. But if everyone were healthy and you take that type of stuff out of it, the abstract out of it, it is a roster that is pretty close to without peer. You want to go Tampa Bay, I'm fine with it. They just won the Super Bowl. They bring everybody back, fine. But we're right there with the Buccaneers as the most complete, comprehensive roster in the NFL. And to think that is, I mean, buddy, you presided over the show during a stretch of 1 win in 2 years. That wasn't that long ago.
No, it was not that long ago. That's what I mean. This is an unbelievable transformation from 2017 to now. I mean, an unbelievable transformation, and it's kudos to everybody. And you said you got to nail those hires. I mean, is the reigning coach of the year in his first year as a head coach in the most absurd of circumstances? Was that successful?
Right.
I'd say that worked out pretty well. So you're talking, organizationally, just we're firing on all cylinders. We're rowing in the same direction. We are speaking the same language. But I think you hit on something, and it really impressed Clowney, and it's really impressed a lot of the guys, honestly, that I've talked to, is it goes back to the 3 Ps, but we need to add like another, it's not a P, a C, but just calm. The calmness of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski. It's almost the 3 Cs, right? You've got the fact that they're calm, they're cool, and they're confident, but it's a quiet confidence. It's one that is, you can tell, is earned, not braggadocious in your face, but the fact that they are just so prepared to have such a plan, or just so calm about everything. It's such an emotional game, but it's such a long season. And I think we've seen, it's certainly in this building at times, players, coaches, everybody who ride that up and down. And I remember Senior Swag came in here and said, we got to stay right here. Keep it right in that tight dispersion.
That's right.
And he was right.
He wrote it on
there. Put it there. We got the two little, the thumbtacks are right there, the push pins.
Yeah, keep it here.
You got to keep it
here, boys.
Keep it in there. And so that's what those guys do. But Andrew Berry, when you hear at 2:15 today, our exclusive one-on-one with Jadavian Clowney, maybe some of you have seen, it's on YouTube as well, the video version of it. And I even asked some questions afterwards, which will likely end up in building the Browns. You cannot oversell the impact and the importance that Andrew Berry, his demeanor, his preparation, his plan, his communication of all of those things to Jadavian Clowney knocked his socks off, and that's as big a reason as any. I mean, the fact that we're good, too. But take that out of it, Andrew Berry absolutely wowed Jadavian Clowney. Wowed.
And guess what? That is the same stuff we heard last year from Hoop, from Conklin. It's the same stuff we heard last year. It's the same stuff. John Johnson.
Yeah.
That's it. He identifies who he wants. He doggedly pursues them, and then he gets them to sign on the line which is dotted. And now dude, look at this. Look at these names. John Johnson, Troy Hill, Anthony Walker, Malik Jackson, Tack McKinley, Jadeveon Clowney, all here. That's who's here. We haven't drafted. That's who's here.
That's who's here. It's really, really – it's awesome. This is fun, man. I'm fired up.
Fantastic.
Like, I'm sitting there yesterday. I'm on the beach. I'm looking at these beautiful colored waters. And, my day started with – I got a text very early in the day. Would you be available to do this, and this? And I said, oh, yeah. I am. Not only am I available,
yes, I'm
ready. And I pulled out what I think is one of the great reverse jinxes of all time. I willed this. I brought my Surface. I brought my Yeti microphone. Because remember, I left on Saturday morning.
Awesome.
That was before the reports of his second trip even came out. I go, I'm just going to bring this in case we sign Clowney. Because, listen, if you paid attention to the scores, the way that we've been speaking about other things, and it wasn't even really full scores as much as I just felt I knew we wanted him.
Yes.
And I felt like he wanted to be here. And so that just seems to me that's a matter of let's just get it done, right? Mm-hmm. But for that to happen, amazing. Unbelievable. And I'm talking to him, yesterday I asked, we were at the hotel, I said, look, I need a private room. And they said, okay, sure. And then I'm in bottom down board shorts, top up. I brought my Stefanski quarter zip just in case.
Oh, the Stefanski quarter zip.
Just in case. Traveled across state lines, and sure enough, and away we went. But I'm excited. He's a good guy, and you can tell he's got a lot of enthusiasm. And it's funny when you think of a guy who was the number 1 overall pick, right? You just think like this is somebody who has struggled. You would think he's always been wanted, right? But it meant something to him. The way that the Browns pursued him and planned for him and made it clear they wanted him. And I thought that was pretty cool. I know we got loaded show. Gibby doesn't want to let us run free. We want to run free. It's been weeks. 3 days.
Got luminaries left and right joining this program. Those are your OBM Hot Topics, Ohio Business Machine preferred copy provider of your Cleveland Browns. Of all the X's and O's for your office, call 216-485-2000. Visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. The 2021 NFL Draft is coming to Cleveland April 29th in 2 weeks through May 1st. You can be part of the action at the NFL Draft Experience taking place outside First Energy Stadium. 2021 NFL Draft Experience is a free football celebration open to families and fans of all ages. Space is limited. Reserve your tickets today via the NFL One Pass. The first of our luminaries is Bucky Brooks of the NFL Network. He will join us coming up next, off and running here on a Pure Joy Thursday edition. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home. Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. Beau Bishop, Nathan Zegura with you here, Cleveland Browns Daily. Head out on the hotline for a visit with our good buddy Bucky Brooks. It is that time of year we get to talk with Bucky, NFL Network analyst. He's the co-host of the Move the Sticks podcast with Daniel Jeremiah. We will talk draft, but Bucky, it's different for us this year. Normally the draft is our Super Bowl. In many years it has been. Now maybe the Super Bowl is our Super Bowl. What do you make of the offseason Andrew Berry's had here in Cleveland and the addition of Jadeveon Clowney yesterday?
All right. Hey, guys, I got two things in my ear. So I halfway heard a question. I heard a promotion in my ear. So if you can repeat the question, I'll go.
I'm sorry, Bucky. What I was asking you was typically this time of year when we have you on, the draft is our Super Bowl. And now we feel like the Super Bowl is our Super Bowl, in large part because of what's done the last two off seasons and the defense that was addressed this off season with the addition of Jadeveon Clowney yesterday becoming official. What do you make of what Andrew Berry has done this off season in condition to last?
I think he's done a really good job of adding pieces to the puzzle. I think last year, obviously, it was about the offense. A little bit of Kevin Stefanski came in, added some structure to make the game easy for the quarterback, then with the running game. That stuff is great. So now it's about turning the attention to the defense. First thing they did, John Johnson solidified the middle of the field. And so you have to be able to play great defense in the league. You have to be able to be dominant down the middle of the field. And so they did that. Added a corner and Hill. Jadeveon Clowney is interesting because right now it's more perception than reality. The perception is that he's the former number one overall pick. He's been a quote-unquote dominant player, but he really hasn't in the last couple of years. A myriad of injuries, a lack of sack production. He's really better against the run than against the pass. And so I think as long as everyone understands exactly who he is, they won't be disappointed. He is a disruptive run defender off the edge. What he's not is an elite pass rusher. And so he's going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and we'll see if for the first time in his career he can cash in. But really, his contributions should be in terms of creating disruptive plays against the run on early downs that will allow Myles Garrett to do his thing on third down.
Yeah, and Bucky, when you think about this defense and the fact that it's kind of been remade here, the Browns enter this draft at 26 without necessarily a pressing need. So when you think about approaching it for a team, what would you be looking for in that kind of situation? Or do you think that the Browns do have a pressing need still in this draft?
No, I mean, I don't think they're an unblemished squad. I think they still can add more pieces to the puzzle. We've had a lot of connections between them and a linebacker, and a linebacker that can do damage not only as a run defender but as maybe a blitz or a pass rusher. And so I think they need to continue to add pieces to the pass rush, add people that can impact the quarterback, because if this team is playing the right way, that means they're running the ball, they're controlling it, they're forcing people to chase them and chase points. Well, you have to have enough pitches in the bullpen to be able to get out of those situations. They need more pass rushes, more impact players.
Bucky, speaking to that end, and Andrew Berry has said this, and his draft philosophy even before a lot of this was best player available is the way that they don't. The idea now last year you got to get a left tackle, but they've addressed a lot of these things, and you talk about best player available at 26. When you look at some of the rumors and some of the stuff that's out there in the draft, who are some guys who maybe have talent that's in the top 15? Who could fall to us and fall into our lap at 26 that maybe you like, and yet still because of maybe position have maybe a chance of falling?
Well, I mean, I think linebackers are going to be there. A couple guys to keep an eye on. One, Zaven Collins from Tulsa is an interesting one because he's big, he's long, he plays on the inside, but he also has the ability to go outside and maybe come off the edge. Jamin Davis from Kentucky is another one. He's fast, he's instinctive, really, really athletic in terms of his range from numbers to numbers. And so he's another sideline playmaker that can add element. What you're thinking about is when you look at the team, you should be able to count 10 to 12 what we call blue chip or elite guys to be a championship squad. And so if you begin to tally it up, the Browns are beginning to get close, but they still need a few more guys to kind of get into that conversation where we can really, really view them as a viable championship contender.
Bucky, when you look at the cornerbacks, and it seems like all of a sudden they are going earlier in some of these mocks than they were previously, who would you be looking at if you were the Browns at 26? Because I think if there is one question that still remains, you got Denzel Ward, you brought in Troy Hill, Greedy Williams coming back, but missed, all of last season, and some of your depth money. Mitch, who started and played the most defensive snaps for you, he's departed. Kevin Johnson's departed. So that feels like a need. Who would you be targeting at 26, and what options do you think could be there for the Browns?
I mean, there are going to be plenty of options. There are a handful of guys that could be in the mix there. Let's just assume that Caleb Farley, Patrick Surtain, and J.C. Horn are gone.
Yep.
Then it's kind of like the next collection of guys. And that next collection of guys would consist of maybe Greg Newsome from Northwestern, who's a very versatile player who has the ability to do some of the things that you want to see on the edge. He can play up, he can play off, man or zone. That's not really an issue. He's really a technician that is a plug-and-play player. You'll have, depending on style, Asante Samuel Jr. Will be in the mix in terms of how he plays on the perimeter. That could be a little high from him in the first round, maybe second round is a better possibility, but Asante Samuel Jr. I would think Elijah Molden, who's the son of Alex Molden, another NFL standout. I think he could give them some value as a nickel corner, as a guy who can play outside and inside. So, I mean, there are going to be plenty of options there. For the Browns, really, best player available makes a lot of sense for them.
Talking with the great Bucky Brooks. And Bucky, the Browns, you mentioned, we talked about Clowney's here. You brought in Myles Garrett. You also brought in a former first-rounder in Tack McKinley. So if the Browns did go edge rusher looking for that impact player, they don't necessarily need one that has to get on the field this year. They could be looking for the guy with the best traits or the best ball of clay, as it were. When you think about the edge rushers that are there, if it was somebody that you didn't have to necessarily count on in 2021, who has the highest ceiling of these guys if they get the right coaching and maximize their potential?
I mean, Greg Rousseau has a ton of potential. I've compared him to Jason Pierre-Paul when Jason Pierre-Paul was coming out of South Florida. Long, rangy, athletic, has the length that you absolutely want at the position. But, still needs to work on the hand skills and those things. I think as you get down there, Jason Owe from Penn State is intriguing, and he's intriguing because he's an explosive athlete. He's dynamic. I mean, he's a freak. I mean, you talk about 4.3 speed off the edges, but he doesn't have much sack reduction. So can you take that raw athleticism and teach you how to become a refined technician? I mean, that's like the million-dollar question. But if I could burn a pick, I'm going to burn a pick on someone that I believe I can develop under the tutelage of my D-line coach.
Yeah, that would certainly be an ideal situation. Bucky Brooks, our guest, NFL Network analyst, co-host the Moving the Sticks podcast, of course, with Daniel Jeremiah. Big picture as we start to get into the second round, the third round. Where's the value in this draft from a position standpoint? Certainly, we think maybe there's a chance from future planning standpoint that receiver could be a position of interest for us.
Yeah, I mean, the receiver position is deep, it's loaded, they're talented, and it's been proven that you don't have to spend a first-round pick to get a Pro Bowl caliber receiver. And so I would target receivers in the second and third round. There's a slew of guys that'll be available. I mean, going from as high up to Elijah Moore to a guy like Nico Collins, who was a teammate of Donovan Peoples-Jones at Michigan. I mean, there are a ton of pass catchers that can make it happen. It really comes down to going to the ice cream shop and kind of determining which flavor you like.
Just to follow up on that, we've heard. Sorry, Zee, just real quick. I've heard that it seems like the consensus is that most of these guys, from a value standpoint, are slot. Is that how you feel about it as well, as opposed to on the outside?
I wonder. Like when I think about like just the draft in general and all the things, it's kind of complex because you want to make sure that you can properly assess the talent, and you want to kind of blend value with what's available. And so, I don't know. Like I think when you're Cleveland, and I think you're kind of in this tricky position, right? You're in a tricky position because you don't necessarily have a glaring need, but you want to kind of address the needs ahead of time. And so a minute ago, we just talked about wide receiver, and I think a lot is determined like whether the rumors are true or not about the Odell Beckham thing. Is he coming back? If he does come back, does he come back as number one receiver and all of that stuff? I think if you're the Browns, I think you have to have the power and just kind of assess where we are and where do we want to be down the road.
Bucky, if you could throw out maybe some names mid-rounds, the guys that you really like that you think can maybe make an impact for the Browns or for anybody in the NFL, regardless of position.
Mid-round guys. So it's kind of a hodgepodge collection of guys. There are safeties like Richie Grant from UCF who can make plays. Andre Cisco is another safety from Syracuse who is a playmaker. Their linebackers, second and third round, Chaz Surratt is one that I would keep an eye on. Run stopper from NC State, Aleem McNeil, who's a guy who's a 320-pound nose tackle who also played outfield when he was in high school, which speaks to his athleticism. Offensive line, you have Spencer Browns and Quinn Manners. There are a ton of players. I think this year, unlike most years, what's different is we didn't have the advent of a combine and pro day, and so you just never know where everybody kind of has a group think where you think about it. So I think this will be the most volatile draft that we've seen in terms of guys that we may or may not have heard about going much higher or lower than we anticipate.
Bucky, excellent stuff as always. We know you're busy. Appreciate you jumping on this year as you always do.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, that's Bucky Brooks, NFL Network analyst, co-host. He's down to the Six podcast with our good buddy Daniel Jeremiah, and they're getting close. It's their time of year, certainly. When it comes to the draft, do you want comprehensive? I just don't know how you do better than Dane Brugler. He will join us next. He will address many of the questions that we just talked about with Bucky. We'll get into some real specific guys at 26. He likes corner at 26. We'll talk about that. Lots to get to on that front. It's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk & Elk Serious Lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio today for a free case review. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. He's the godfather. He's the man. There are no more comprehensive draft analysts than our next guest. He's our good buddy Dane Brugler, NFL draft analyst at The Athletic. His annual draft publication, The Beast, is out now at The Athletic. You can subscribe today at The Athletic. Get your copy today. It is the Bible. If you want to be serious about the draft, this is the way to do it. Dane also, just this week, releasing his 7-round mock. So there's a lot going on. This is your time of year, my friend. Before we get into all the specifics, thank you so much for taking the time. And let's just start here. Now that the Beast is done and you look at this draft, what are the headlines from it? What positions do you really like? What positions seem a little weak? What do you think by the time we're done with this thing next week, what are going to be the headlines of this draft class?
Well, it starts with the quarterbacks, right? We're going to see quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. It's only happened twice before, the last time being in 99, with Tim Couch and McNabb and Achilles Smith. So, and then we're going to see 5 quarterbacks likely go in the top 10, which has never happened before. So we could see quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, 4. That has never happened before. So it's really all going to be about the quarterbacks in the top half of round 1. And then I think that when you look at some of the other strong positions in this class, you're talking about corner, you're talking about edge rusher, you're talking about receiver, 3 positions that, the Browns theoretically could be considering at certain points in the early portion of the draft, rounds 1 through 3. So I think it matches up well with, the Browns, where they could be looking, and in the strength of this draft, where I don't think they have to go a specific position at 26 because they can feel good about maybe the corners that'll still be around in the second round. They can feel good about some of the pass rushers that they can get in round 2, round 3. So all 3 of those positions really stretch nicely into rounds 2, 3, and even into day 3.
All right, before we get to the Browns stuff, and I know you touched on, you set this stage for it. You talk quarterbacks 1, 2, 3. Who's going 3? I feel like that's where the draft starts. What are you hearing? What would you do knowing the offense they run? Is this Mac Jones stuff? Is this real? What's going on, Dane? Let us know the truth.
And I was hoping you could tell me. This is a tough one because I tell you, who knows? Kyle Shanahan.
Yep.
You know who doesn't know? Everybody else. That's
true.
it. Yeah, I have sources with the 49ers on that staff who are like us, wondering who is the quarterback going to be. And, they made the move with an idea of who they're taking. And now they're doing their due diligence. They're going to every single one of these quarterback pro days, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance. And when the trade was made, my initial thought was, oh, Trey Lance, that's perfect. I think he's a great fit for what Kyle Shanahan likes to do. I think he checks a lot of the boxes. He's going to a situation theoretically with Jimmy Garoppolo as the starter, so they can bring along Trey Lance at his own pace. They're not going to force him into action before he's ready. And then the Mac Jones chatter started. And it's not like this is media driven. It's not like this is what people in the league are thinking. That this is what they're leaning towards is Mac Jones is the reason that the 49ers made this move up to number 3, which I know shocks a lot of people. But, let's look at it. Let's break it down. What are the most important qualities you want in the quarterback position? It starts with 1, accuracy, 2, decision-making. And you could argue that, assuming Trevor Lawrence goes 1, Zach Wilson goes 2, like we believe will happen, you can make an argument that Mac Jones is the best of those 3 quarterbacks remaining in those first 2 areas. You just have to figure out, okay, is he good enough in the other areas that you're looking at quarterback, mobility and arm strength and all the other variables that go into the position. And so I could see a team looking at Mac Jones and saying, okay, this is going to be our starter for the long term and a guy we think we can win with. So, I would, 3 years ago, we weren't really talking with a lot of confidence about Baker Mayfield being the number 1 pick. So, beauty's in the eye of the beholder and how each one of these teams view these quarterbacks. And I'll put it this way. None of the 3 quarterbacks, if they're drafted at 3, will surprise me. And it'll be fascinating, the domino effect after the quarterback goes 3. Let's just say it's Mac Jones. The Falcons at 4 have a fascinating conversation to have. Are they going to take the quarterback and you have your succession plan in place behind Matt Ryan, whenever that's next year or 2 years from now? Do you take the boatload of picks that you're likely to get from a team looking to trade up? Or do you go the best non-quarterback, which in my opinion is Kyle Pitts, and you have a difference maker from day one who's going to help you compete in a pretty tough division. So the Falcons at 4, we know quarterback's going 3, but then the Falcons at 4, that's where the intrigue really starts to heat up.
Dane, I want to remind you and our listeners of what you said at the beginning of this. You have sources with the Niners, and they don't know, but somehow the whole league knows. It's the worst-kept secret. It's Daniel Jones to the Giants. It's the worst-kept secret that they're taking Mac Jones. So I don't buy it. I'm just saying I don't buy it. I think I don't
either. You saw the Hoff?
Yeah. No, the Hoff said no chance. But go back to Washington when he was with his dad. RG3 was the traits guy, right? The excitement, explosion, all of that. That's who they took in the first round. Kirk Cousins, the accurate, safe, smart-headed guy. That's who they took in the 4th round. Not to say he can't win with the Kirk Cousins, and he took Jimmy Garoppolo to the Super Bowl. But I think if he can get somebody that he thinks he can coach them up, but has elite gifts, I think that's more appealing. That feels like Fields or Lance to me more than Mac Jones. But that's what it'll be fun to see.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's how a lot of people are thinking, and that's why Trey Lance was the first name that came to my mind. Just he's a good-sized athlete. His package of the physical traits, the poise, the intelligence for a guy that's 20 years old is really rare. And we have to remember, Trey Lance is not a quarterback who grew up with these quarterback coaches. And I mean, he was a safety as a senior in high school. You don't talk about that with a lot of these quarterbacks because they're specialized at that point of their lives. Trey Lance, growing up in a small town in Minnesota, just that wasn't his trajectory to this point. And, Minnesota, the Gophers, they recruited him as a safety. He wants to play quarterback. North Dakota State gives him that opportunity, and he flourished there at the FCS level. So, it's a really unique evaluation. 17 starts to his name, doesn't have the experience ideally that you want, but the package of traits, physically, mentally, really rare. And so I really like that fit in San Francisco, but, the time will tell who Kyle Shanahan prefers at that point.
Dane, this is an interesting spot for us. I remember last year when we would have you on and we would go through with a fine-tooth comb all of these tackles because we knew we were taking a tackle. And it was a matter of which one do you like, where's the fit, is he going to fall to you, well, you have the choice of them, all of those things were very straightforward. I mean, you knew that's how it was going to go. I'm not so sure this year. I think Andrew Berry, because of what he's done in free agency, can approach this draft as – sure, we certainly know that we still need another corner, and I know that you have Newsome mocked to us at 26, and that would be a great one. I liked him a lot at Northwestern. But I also think that if somebody were to fall that has the traits that you're talking about and maybe isn't even at a position of need, you might pull the trigger on it. I think that they will. If you had to pick a couple of guys who you think maybe are top 15 talents in this draft, but because of the position they play could drop, what are some names that come to mind?
Yeah, and I think you let the board fall to you when you're picking 26. You don't necessarily say, okay, well, first we're going to take a corner. In the second round, it'll be pass rusher. Third round, no, I mean, you just can't do that. That's not the right way to operate within the NFL draft. You want to see how the first 25 picks play out. And, the Browns are doing what we're doing, and that's doing mock drafts and trying to put together these different scenarios so you're not surprised on draft day. You have an understanding, okay, we feel good that one of these 5 or 6 players are going to be there, and if that's the case, this is how we would rank them, and, this is who we're going to take there at that point. They're going to leave the phone lines open as well. You never know. Could be a trade back opportunity. Go back and, get another day 2 pick and you still feel pretty good about the guy you're getting in the early second round. So everything's on the table for the Browns, and I think the Jadeveon Clowney signing only furders that thought. But when you're looking at some of the players that we expect to be off the board in the top 20, some of these pass rushers, Azeez Ojulari to me is the most intriguing pass rusher in this class. He doesn't look very big. He's not very big. He's 6'2", 250 pounds, but he has 34.5-inch arms. So he has the length of a guy that's 6'5". And then you factor in his athleticism, his get-off, and his instincts. He's a really instinctive player. It's not just a one-trick pony who's going to get after the quarterback. he can play the run. He can set a hard edge. He needs to diversify his approach a little bit and expand his pass rush. But it's a guy that's 20 years old and coming off a season where he led the SEC in sacks, tackles for loss, and forced fumbles. So to me, Azeez Ojulari should not last to 26. But if somehow he does, that'd be a guy that I'd be jumping all over. Some of these other pass rushers like a Kwity Paye out of Michigan, another possibility. I mean, it would be a surprise. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be a surprise if they went anywhere other than defense. But, who knows? Maybe they have a really high grade on one of these receivers, like a Rashad Bateman. And if that's the case, then, maybe the value, they look at the value and say it's just too good here. And, we're going to take advantage of that. And so I think they've put themselves in a position where they can truly stick to their board and get the best player long term and not just try to, pigeonhole a need where it's just going to, it's going to look good on paper, but maybe necessarily not the best player according to their board.
So, Dane, if you were doing this 7-round mock today, would it have changed at all for you with the signing of Clowney?
No, I don't think so. We're talking about a one-year deal, a guy that you hope is going to be playing 16 games for you. But there's obviously with his background and his medical issues in the past, you never know. So, I think that everything's on the table at 26, like we said, edge rusher, corner. I don't know that they go linebacker that early, but
Same.
If a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, a guy that maybe they're really intrigued with, if he were still there, is that maybe a player that they say, okay, we just can't pass on him? And then I still think that there's a good chance, say they go corner in the first round, there's a good chance they could still go pass rusher in rounds 2 or 3. I mean, there's not a single team out there that is going to say, no, you know what, we're good at pass rusher. We don't need any more. Just keep adding those guys because this is, you're going to break it down. After quarterback, you can make an easy argument that pass rusher is the next most important position on your roster. So keep taking swings. And especially in a group like this where edge rusher, it's really different than what we're used to. We don't have that Chase Young at the top. We don't have the Bosas, the Myles Garrett. But between picks, say, like 20 and 75, there's some really intriguing pass rushers in that mix. Guys, in the mock draft that I did, I had the Browns taking Peyton Turner out of Houston in the second round, which I think fits kind of what they might want to look for on day 2. 6'5.5", 270 pounds, really long, over 35-inch arms. There's a lot to like about the traits that he offers at that point in the draft. So I think there's still a good chance we see the Browns address pass rusher at some point in the first 2 days of the draft.
Dane, you mentioned defense, and I think that you're right about that. And we'll get back to some of these defensive guys later. But wide receiver is the one position that, when we talk about if there was to be an early shock, and I mean a first or a second round kind of surprise, it wouldn't surprise me with wide receiver because you got to think about succession planning with the money that's in that room and going forward. So who are some guys, day 2, day 3 that you or early day 2, I should say, late first, early second. You mentioned Bateman earlier, but there's also that bevy of what I would call speed guys. And I think if there's one thing that the Browns need, it's speed at that position. And, there's the Kadarius Tonys, the Tutu Atwells, the Rondale Moores, those kind of guys. Who are some of those guys that you particularly like and think would be good fits for what the Browns run here in this offense?
I think 2 guys stand out as being that late first, early second round range. Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss, who's not a big guy. He's 5'9.5", 180 pounds. But you talk about speed, 4.3 speed, 6'6'7" in a 3-cone. That's just silly. I mean, he is a weapon. And you look at what he did for that Lane Kiffin offense at Ole Miss. He led the FBS in catches per game with 10.8. They force-fed him the football, and he responded in a big way. Good luck finding drops on his tape. There are just not many of them. Now, he's a guy that a lot of underneath targets, a lot of catch-and-run opportunities. He did have some, vertical targets on film, sluggos, and, vertical patterns. But for the most part, it was operating from different points in the formation. He, put him in the backfield, put him in a slot, let him win early off the line of scrimmage, get him the football, and let him create. but I think there's just a lot of talent there and something that you can really develop into your offense. So Elijah Moore is a name to keep in mind. And then another guy that I really like who I think can make an impact early and then, develop into a starter is De'Ami Brown at North Carolina.
Yep.
6'1", 190 pounds. He is the best double move receiver in this class. He's just very skilled, and it is a skill. It's not just speed winning deep. He understands how to leverage cornerbacks, just that subtle settle of the feet or the subtle, body movements. Just really good at that part of playing receiver. Tracks the ball really well down the field, and he has big time speed. The last 2 years at North Carolina, he averaged over 20 yards a catch both years. 20 touchdowns the last 2 years, which is a school record for the Tar Heels. Ran a 4.44 in the 40, so the speed is above average. And I think his best football is ahead of him. So De'Ami Brown in the second round, I think would check a lot of the boxes what the Browns would be looking for.
All right, Dane, let's head back to the defense now. And I wanted to ask you about JOK at Notre Dame. I don't think that you would say on this, that for this regime, that linebacker is a position of that there's been a great investment in. And I do think, and I will say that, and I think this is something that's misplayed around the league, I think we like our linebackers a lot more than the people in the NFL think that we like our linebackers. I think we're very satisfied. But you talk about traits, and he certainly has those. But what's interesting about him is I don't know if you'd even qualify him as a linebacker. I'm not sure what he is. If he's is he just an Avenger? Maybe I don't know what he is. What would you do with him? And how would you? Does his fit here?
Yeah, you have to be a little creative because he's not just a traditional stack linebacker. He was perfect in that Notre Dame defense, that Clark Lee defense, where he was a rover. You would see him line up over the slot receiver. You would see him off the edge as a blitzer, and he's so explosive that he's able to make plays in the backfield. The last 2 years combined, 24.5 tackles for loss, just a tremendous number. But he's also a guy that can stay with receivers down the field and make plays. He has 8 passes defended as well. So there's so much you could do with a player like this. But you do have to tweak your defense a little bit. You have to be, you have to have an understanding of what he does best, and then have an understanding of your scheme and how he fits. And that goes, and I think if you use it correctly, it's going to help everybody because it's going to help your personnel packages, what you're doing in base, what you're doing in nickel and dime, just the different hats that he can wear. You don't have to worry about making sure an extra corners on the field because he can legitimately line up against a slot receiver. So there's so much you can do with a player like this. Only a redshirt junior, still just 21 years old. The athleticism is outstanding, rare explosion for a player that's kind of that size, 220 pounds, rangy, can cover a lot of ground. Some things he needs to clean up to his game. But there's a good chance he's off the board somewhere in the first 20 picks. If he were to last you at 26, I'm with you. I think this team with the Browns, they're okay with where the linebackers are right now. That's not necessarily a position. I think that they're looking to upgrade in the first round. But if a talent like JOK were to be there at 26, it would certainly make them think about it.
Talking with the great Dane Brugler, you probably know that already because you're just getting information thrown at you in spectacular fashion. And, Dane, I want to keep getting some more of that information about the corner because if you said, Nathan, you can go to the proverbial window and say this position will be picked in round 1 or round 2 for the Browns, I'm going to say cornerback. That would be the one that I feel the most confident about coming off the board early for the Browns. So you have Greg Newsome going at 26. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about Newsome. And tell us, is he in that first tier, and who's the next tier right under him? If you like Newsome with Farley and Horn, and we've seen him kind of grouped with Surtain, Farley, Horn, Newsome, is that kind of top quartet? And is that true for you? And then who else could be in the mix at 26? Or if you're getting into the second round, who are some of the guys that you like?
Yeah, I think Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn, they're the top 2 guys. Good chance they're both off the board in the top 15 picks. And then if you're the Browns, I think you're kind of crossing your fingers, crossing your toes, hoping that Greg Newsome would fall to you at 26. This is a guy that can play man, can play zone, really balanced athlete. You see that on film, and then, you're okay. Is it going to show in the testing? And okay, at 6 foot, 192 pounds, he ran a 4.38 at his pro day, 40-inch vert, 6.9 3-cone. So it translates to the testing information as well. A good-sized player, like I said, 6 foot, 192 pounds. Adequate length, just over 31-inch arms. You wish they were a little bit longer, but it's not a deal breaker. I call him a route magnet because that's how he plays. He attaches himself to routes, and you just don't see a lot of separation there. He has a very good understanding of what the offense is trying to do, and then putting himself in position to make plays. 25 passes defended the last 3 years. Really, okay, and these are all the positives. There's plenty of positives with Greg Newsome. If you're going to look at, okay, what are the worries? Why would he still be available at 26? It comes down to two things. First, you want to see him create more turnovers. Okay. 0 forced fumbles and 25 passes defended. Only one of those was an interception. So you want to see him, he gets his hands on the football. You want to see him convert those to turnovers more at a higher clip. The other thing is he's missed at least 3 games each of the last 3 years, each of his 3 seasons at Northwestern. Not ideal, obviously. These aren't like big worrisome issues, torn ACLs or concussions or anything like that. It's more, soft tissue injuries and nagging issues, things like that you worry about, but I don't know that the risk is as great with some of these other injury problems. So if you get past those 2 issues, and maybe those 2 issues are just bad enough where he does fall to you at 26, but not bad enough where you're going to pass on him at that point. So Gregory Newsome's one of my favorites this year. I think he'd look great at pick 26. Another questionable guy that you have to do more homework on is Caleb Farley, who, in my opinion, is a top 10 type of talent. Quarterback in high school, coming out of the North Carolina area, goes to Virginia Tech as a wide receiver, moves to corner in 2018, never played the position before, and he had 2 interceptions in his first career start in the opener against Florida State. This is just a natural at the position. His burst, his speed, it's just very different than most guys that are that size, because he is 6'2", 200 pounds, 33.5-inch arms. But he has a history of medical issues. He tore his ACL in college, and he recently had his second back procedure, and that's obviously a big deal. And that's what NFL teams are going through right now. Without the combine in February, there's about 150 prospects that are going to Indianapolis over these last 2 weeks and getting the more thorough examination. So right now is where teams are getting kind of the final word on, what the exact injuries are, what are the long-term effects. And I know there's some scouts that are kind of crossing their fingers because, there's no worse feeling than, really loving a guy, but then going to, a meeting and finding out that the medical staff says, no, we can't draft him. So that's what they're trying to figure out right now, is get the exact medicals on these talented players that there might be a few question marks.
Dan, I'll get you out of here on this one. What is the realistic dream scenario for Andrew Berry at 26? Give me the name that, if it all falls the perfect way, is the guy that's the guy for the Browns.
I really do think it's Greg Newsome. I think what he offers, in my opinion, he's a top 20 prospect in this draft. Like I said, as long as you can get past that, if you're comfortable with the durability, you think that he's going to be able to turn some of those passes defense into interceptions. Everything else you feel really good about, and man, zone, the speed, his ability to break on routes, and the FBI, the football intelligence. So there's a lot to like about Greg Newsome. Not only just how he addresses a need, but how he fits with this offense. He's a young player, still just 20 years old. There's a lot going for Greg Newsome, and with what the Browns look for at that position. So if he were to be the pick of 26. It would be exactly like Jedrick Wills last year. Jedrick Wills, I thought, was the best tackle in the draft. We talked about that, and that's how it played out. Worked out perfectly for the Browns at 10. I'm going to say that this year's Jedrick Wills is Gregory Newsome.
Wow.
It works out perfectly when we have you on, my friend. Great stuff out of you. Appreciate you as always, Dane.
All right. Look forward to it next time, guys. Thanks.
All right, that's the great thing. He's down. Meat sandwich. The amount of slices of meat on that football meat sandwich for the kids. Jeez.
It's so good and it's so fun, and
So good.
I mean, 30 minutes goes by in the blink of an eye, and you're getting good stuff, great energy, great delivery, easily consumable, unparalleled knowledge about the subject matter. He's great. He's great at what he does. I'm glad he's on our team. I'm glad he's going to be. Gibbe went out there and said, "Yeah, Dane, you're going to be a part of the team. We got an on-air light now. Now you're in."
He's going to be doing a lot more for us over the next few weeks. Leading up to the draft and post-draft.
Awesome.
So, including draft night and draft weekend.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Well, now we've won. Now we've all won. That's a good job out of you, Gibby. I know that you were central in that. We will have a lot to react to here from that interview with Dane and some thoughts on that. You will hear Nathan's one-on-one with Jadeveon Clowney. There will be the trial of Nathan Zegura in the second hour of this program. You have a lot to look forward to. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Obsessing over something like football can be a problem. If you're obsessing over gambling, it can be dangerous. Do something to take your mind off it, like finding a hobby. If you want some more tips, go to keepitfunohio.com for great ways to keep gambling fun. It was fun talking to all those guys about the draft. And the one thing, this is a very different draft for us, but I think really fun because it is going to be like opening up a present from a crazy aunt that you have no idea what it could be. It really could be anything at 26. There's so many things that will happen before you pick that will dictate what you do at 26. And because you approach it without this notion of we have to have this guy. Of course, you and I have talked about this. Corner is clearly it. We thought that they would address defensive end. If you look at a position and say, boy, you'd love to have another first-round talent there, although we have a lot of them, it would be at corner, right? And injury history is a part of it. But you also are open to taking anybody cool that falls, which opens up this board in a way that it's really never been opened up here.
It's just a completely different experience for us, and it's an exciting experience for us. It's a sign that your team is good, and it's a sign that you have done incredible roster building. And look, there are a lot of guys that as a part of this that are on short deals. There are some that are on longer deals, and you're going to have, good off seasons and good drafts, more importantly, to be able to sustain the level of excellence on your 53-man roster that you presently have. That's what I think Andrew Berry is going to be very, very good at. I think you're going to see the Browns get a combination of good talent this year and also push some picks into the future. I don't think you're drafting the way this roster is set up. I mean, we'll go through that, and I think that'll be a fun thing to do. One of these weeks is to go through. Let's go pre-draft and make a 53-man roster, and then say how many spots are truly on this team right now up for grabs. I bet it's going to be a fairly small number. And then on top of that, Bucky Brooks, I wrote down when he said you have 10 to 12 blue-chip guys. Well, let's go see how many blue-chip guys we've got on this team. And I
was going to say, I
think
like
we're
Bucky
pretty close.
Missed.
I think we're pretty close.
Let's start offensively. 6.
Chubb, Hunt.
Conklin.
Teller.
I mean, you go Teller and Bitonio.
Treader's
right?
a blue-chip center.
Treader. Right.
I mean, between
Jedrick certainly,
he's not there. But he's
not there yet. But
on the way, he was a blue chip prospect
on the way.
Sure. And then you would
two receivers, Jarvis and Odell.
I think you could talk yourself into getting right now a combined score of 2 or 1.5 for Hoop, Jarvis, Odell. Gibbe's at 9 already. We haven't got defense. Okay, now you've got
both running backs.
Yeah, we've got both running backs in there.
Are they good? You tell me. Are they good?
They did something only 4 other tandems have ever done in the history of the league. So that seems.
We have
pretty
10
good
on
to me.
offense.
Miles. Defense is where you could say, okay, Miles,
Fine.
I'll call blue chip.
Fine.
Clowney's a blue chip. Denzel Ward's blue chip. John Johnson's blue chip. All right, so there's 4 right there. And then you could, there arguments can be made elsewhere about Sheldon or things like that. But there you are, right there with 14.
Even if you think we're too generous on the offense, there's for sure 10.
It's for sure a 10. For sure 10.
For sure 10. Yeah. Yeah. So
and we got a blue chip head coach and a blue chip GM.
Right. And you also, the other thing that you have is you have guys who in moments, and I was having a conversation, in fact, last night about Grant Delpit, and I was talking to a buddy of mine. He was talking about, he's like, well, Delpit's big, right? I'm like, dude, don't even get me started on Grant Delpit before he got hurt. Don't even get me started on how excited we were about Grant Delpit before he got hurt. Don't get started on the idea of the defense was going to be built in part around his skill set.
Correct.
And he was a rookie. So that's who Grant Delpit is. And you get him back. Now, anything can happen. But if he's back to the guy that you drafted, holy cow, he's on the cusp of this too. So Ronnie Harrison's flashed so brilliantly. Like anytime he's on the field, you noticed him. So there's so much here from a talent standpoint that it is a contender. It is a Super Bowl contender. It is a team that you look at it right now and say that's an AFC Championship team. I think it's the most talented Browns team in my lifetime. I do. And I wasn't here for Jim Brown, but in terms of top to bottom roster, it is every bit as talented as any of those teams in the 80s. Every bit.
This is an elite
every
roster.
Bit.
It's an elite roster that has been assembled by Andrew Berry. It is predominantly young, so you have an opportunity to keep a lot of it together. You're going to have, It was funny. I was getting into it with one of my buddies who was like, "Oh, that's a lot of money for Clowney." I said, Carl Lawson, who I loved, Trey Hendrickson, guys like that, got paid $16 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
We got Clowney and McKinley for a reported $14 million.
Yeah.
Give me two of those, and there's no. Again, I still believe fully that Takk McKinley is going to get every opportunity to become that long-term running buddy next to Myles Garrett. And I think having Clowney here is going to make it a little bit more difficult for him to have, a double-digit sack season. But I think he's going to be on the field for every pass rushing situation, and so maybe he still will. But that could also work in our favor that we're able to get him longer at a slightly better rate. But I think that there's every opportunity is going to be presented for him to be the long-term answer. And I think Jadeveon Clowney's got a couple of years of good football. He sounded, again, motivated, wanted. And I loved, we always used to make the joke, and I did it with him off camera. I thought for sure you would sign here right before the season. Like, who needs training camp? You're Jadeveon Clowney. He's like, you know what? I've needed it. I needed it. I wanted it. It was important to me to get it done and get in the playbook and play fast. And I feel like people are doubting me a little bit. And I want to show them that I still have a lot of great football left, and this is a perfect situation for me to do it in.
You've seen him in some of those videos that are circulating when he lines up over a guard.
Well, yeah, okay, how about the fact that was one of the first things I talked to you about, because that's what John Costco, our good friend at Pro Football Focus, he sent me some stuff and said, man, this guy's dominant inside. You've seen the videos where he just shakes these guards, and it seems unfair.
Yep.
How about in the press release? And we talked about it yesterday, but in the press release, they mentioned 3-tech. They mentioned it. And Bucky Brooks, he said, look, he hasn't been a premier pass rusher. From a sack standpoint, no. From a pass rush, win percentage and a pressure generation rate, he has been elite. But you talk about putting him inside and then McKinley outside or Myles outside of him. How do you match up with that? Because you're going to leave. If you put Clowney next to Myles, let's say that. Okay, Clowney's on the inside. Myles is outside the tackle. Every protection is going to be slid that way. You can now blitz and bring McKinley from the other side, or blitz up the middle with McKinley coming off of the back edge on a wide 9. What are you going to do? There aren't teams that have the lines capable of dealing with that, maybe other than us. And the best part is, in training camp, you're going to get that line against our line, and you're going to have iron sharpen iron. It's going to seem like Christmas come early on Sundays when they get, I don't have to deal with Wills and Conklin and Teller and Treader and Batonio. Oh, bring on Jamoke Almond Fudge over here? Sure. Let's go.
The other thing is as you were describing that, if you were describing that with Clowney next to Myles and Takk, in that kind of 3 down, what are you going to do here? And then the blitz coming. You're also in those scenarios, in many instances, we'll have 3 of those safeties out there who can all do the same thing, who are all elite at blitzing.
Yep.
So where's it coming from? Where's the blitz coming from, quarterback? You tell me. You said this yesterday, and it was such a good point. I feel like we've talked about it some, but maybe not enough. But the job that Joe Woods did last year, as handicapped as he was by injuries, was nothing short of remarkable. It was nothing short of remarkable. And now you're giving him a full tool chest to work with. And everything that's been done here defensively has been done with the eyes in the guise of versatility.
Yep. Guys
who look the same, who can play in a lot of different spots, can be moved around, give you different looks. This has all been done to confuse offenses. That's why when we're talking the draft, I love do. JOK, if he drops and you have this other guy who's just a fly-around football player, he's not a traditional linebacker in any way, and he's maybe a little redundant, but he is elite from a coverage standpoint, from a blitzing standpoint, and a sideline-to-sideline guy, you just unleash him. I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by that, and I think it would fit very well with the versatility of it. Love Newsome, too, and he did a nice job at Northwestern. But there's a lot of really cool things I think you can do based on the way this roster's been constructed.
Yeah, that's what's exciting. That's what this is all about. And you brought in, Jadeveon. We're going to hear from Jadeveon Clowney momentarily. Versatility is a word that he used talking to me. That's you as a defense. What is your greatest asset? Now, every rule has been changed against you. They all favor the offense. So what do you have? Disguise. How are you best able to disguise? With versatility. When Miles can line up inside, Clowney can line up inside, Tack can line up inside, Miles and Tack can be on the same side, Miles and Clowney can be on the same side. You have all this versatility there. The three safeties. Which one's going to blitz? Who's going to play the single high? Who's going to come down and be in the hole? Good luck guessing. Joe Woods has a lot of things at his disposal now, and I think last year, I'll say it, I said it yesterday and I'll say it again. The narrative that Joe Woods struggled last year as a defensive coordinator is bullocks. It's erroneous on both counts.
Nonsense.
He never got to play the defense he wanted to play, and yet he found a way to manufacture turnovers. He found a way for this defense to come up big in big moments. Think about what we did in our wild card win. Think about the interception from Carl Joseph late against Kansas City where we thought we were going to come in and steal that one from the Chiefs. And yet he did not have the full complement of what he expected, and the back end is key to it. This is a guy that made his way to becoming a defensive coordinator for his work with defensive backs. Yep. If you don't think defensive backs are critical to what he wants to do, you're not paying attention. And now we have a chance to be loaded, especially if we can add a Greg Newsome here at 26 on the back end, and we have a chance to be loaded on the front. And, talking with Jadeveon, and I said, you'll hear the front can make the back end better. The back end can make the front better. When you have both, listen to what he says.
Forget it.
Just listen to what he says.
Well, you're the 49ers from a couple of years ago when you have both. If you can pull that off, that's what you're trying to do. We will go one-on-one. Z will go one-on-one with Jadeveon Clowney in an exclusive manner. That is coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. Beau Bishop from my great friends at Weather Seal Home Services. Do you need a roof replacement? Would you like to replace your roof for the final time? We know that you would. You know that you would. And that's the benefit of choosing metal roof technology from Weather Seal. Metal roof technology, materials, styles, and colors have been improved significantly over the years. They are beautiful, nearly indestructible, and with Weather Seal, affordable. Plus, with a new metal roof, Weather Seal includes a 6-inch gutter upgrade and up to 7 years, zero interest financing. That's right, 7 years, zero interest on that. Call my guys. Do it now, 877-351-SEAL, or visit WeatherSealHomeservices.com. That is 877-351-SEAL, or visit WeatherSealHomeservices.com. Now, the time in the show where we talk with the former number 1 overall pick in the draft. Z does it. He has the honors with Dane Clowney. Let's have a listen.
Very now to be sitting down with the newest member of the Cleveland Browns, former number 1 overall pick, 3-time Pro Bowler, defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney. And Jadeveon, welcome to Cleveland. I feel like this is years in the making.
Hey, yes, sir, man. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be a part of this organization. I came here a few weeks ago, had a great visit, and I'm back.
Yeah, you were. So a few weeks ago, you come in. It was a very clandestine visit. I was in the building. Nobody knew anything about it until later that day. What was kind of, from your standpoint, the point of that visit? Was it kind of to get to know each other?
To get a feel of the guys, the coaches, and the staff up here. And I'm glad I took that visit. Me coming in on that visit helped me make my mind up on deciding to come here.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that meeting and sitting down and how that helped. And, you know, I've had the chance to be around Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry a lot. They're very impressive people. Yeah, what did you think coming out of that meeting? You're like, oh, now I see why they turned it around last year.
Andrew Berry, man, you know, I talked to him. I sat down with him, and he was a laid-back, smooth, cool guy. And I was just like, you know, I like that about him. This is our general manager. I'm like, oh, I got to come play with him. And then I was liking the Kiffin, the D-line. I talked to him, and he showed me his ideas, what he had drawn up for the front. And I feel like we got one of the best fronts in football with when I came here with the guys that I already had here. I was like, shoot, I joined this team. I know we had one of the best fronts in football, and I'm just looking forward to that D-line room and play with them guys that's already here.
And, you know, Myles Garrett is here, and Takk McKinley is here, and Sheldon Richardson's here. All you guys know first-round picks. And we go into Malik Jackson. You can go on and on. As you said, it's a stacked defensive line. But you're a guy who's been double-teamed your entire career, one of the highest rates in the NFL. As I saw that look on your face right there. It's got to be pretty nice. Myles Garrett's got to be a pretty nice thing to say. Oh, yeah, that's over on the other side. You go double that guy. Leave me alone.
I'm looking forward to that. I told somebody that at least don't help me stay away from that double team playing beside Myles Garrett. I'm happy about that decision. You know, that's another reason I wanted to come line up beside him. I've been watching him. He's a great player. Been killing it throughout his career. And I wanted some help. I wanted to come help him. He can help me. We help each other. So hopefully we can feed off each other and go out there and get out the quarterbacks and test some teams up.
Is there a number 1 overall pick kind of fraternity? You know, you guys are both defensive ends, both number 1 overall picks that you guys kind of – were you ever in contact prior to coming here?
You know, we had the same agent at one point in time with Bus Cook. So, yeah, we was in contact. I talked to his mom a few times, and they pretty cool. You know, I'm a fan of his mom. His mom is a nice lady. She's funny. She have a good time. And, I'm looking forward to playing with him.
So when you mentioned kind of talking with AB and Coach Stefanski, both guys very calm. They have the plan. They know what they want to do, and they knew that plan involved you. I think that was one of those, you know, if the combine happened.
That's what made me excited about coming in, because they involved me in the plan. You know, it was already, we need you to be part of this plan. So then they said that to me. I was like, shoot, at least they want me. You know, they want me on this thing and be a part of it. So I was like, so I'm gonna go somewhere I want it, and somebody want to take care of me and look out for my best interests, and you know, try to build something special. And I want to be a part of that.
And certainly we are very happy to have you be a part of that. And you mentioned the fronts, and, you know, looking through your career, one of the things I noticed is, you know, you haven't done it a lot, but when you kick inside, you're pretty nasty. And I was just happened to be reading before we sat down here and talked the press release, and they already mentioned maybe, you know, some 3 technique stuff like that. And you think about Myles on one side, you may be next to him, for crying out loud, Takk on the other side. That's got to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a special thing about having a group of guys that can rush anywhere in the front. You know, you can just flip guys anywhere and get out the quarterback. So I think the defense coordinator have a fun job this year, trying to, you know, get a lot of matchups and just switching us up. And guys won't know where we're going to line up when you got a group of guys that can go anywhere and get out the quarterback. that's gonna be a fun thing. Just looking forward to that and seeing what they got game plan wise. You just look forward to each week and going out there to dominate.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you felt the love. As soon as Jadeveon Clowney and the Browns were linked, social media is ablaze. Browns fans, very passionate. It's kind of like a collegiate fan base in that sense. Going back to your college days in South Carolina, it has that vibe where this is what this town is about. Have you felt that love so far?
Yes, sir. They love their football out here. I can tell you that. This might be one of the biggest fan base I've played for. Out of this team in Seattle, they don't get no bigger than this. As they fans, they love their team. So, I'm just coming out here to play for the dog pound and them fans that's out there cheering in this cold. Just try to give them something to cheer for and come out here and compete every week.
How are you feeling physically?
I feel great. I'm looking forward to it, man. When I pulled out last year, had the surgery I did. I think it was the best for my career for what I got going on in the future. It was best for me to go ahead and get that taken care of and get back on the right track. So I'm looking forward to this season, and I think it's going to be a great one for me. I put a lot of work in. I'm still working. Got a lot more to do, but I think it's going to lead to great things for me down the road.
I don't know if you saw Baker Mayfield's his birthday today, and he tweeted out after it was announced that you signed with the team that pretty darn good birthday present. Bring in.
I gotta tell him happy birthday, buddy.
Yes,
I'm gonna tell him after this, happy birthday, Baker Mayfield.
Yes, let's go. So I just see the smile on your face. You seem happy. You seem content. You seem very, very assured that you did the right thing. And now you're coming into a place that you saw the Browns win 12 games last year, get the second round of the playoffs. To be a part of something, you could be that piece that helps get them to hoist that Lombardi trophy.
And that's what I'm hoping for, man. I watched this same defensive staff come here from San Fran, and they front will carry them to the Super Bowl. And hopefully we can come and do that here in Cleveland. And that's what I'm coming to help try to do.
And when you think about it, it goes hand in hand, right? The front and the back end of the defense. Sometimes the front helps the back end, and sometimes the back end can help the front. And, you bring in John Johnson and Troy Hill, and you got Denzel and Greedy and Grant. When you have both of those things, is that when a defense really can just become dominant?
Yeah, it's when it's special, man. You fly around, you having fun. Nobody's just pointing.
2 minutes.
You're just flying around, and nobody even getting tired during that time during the game because you're having so much fun. I'd have been on defense like we ain't tired. We just having so much fun. We getting after guys and breaking their will. When you can break a team's will and you can just hold them down, that's a great feeling. And I just feel like with me joining this team and the guys around here, we can do that. We can do something special in this upcoming season, and I hope we can go ahead and do that.
So walk us through real quickly those last 2 weeks. You come in here for that meeting. It goes well. You say, okay, I like you guys. You guys like me. You got a plan. Maybe I want to be a part of it. Well, how did we go from that meeting through the 2 weeks at the time when you said, I'm flying back. Let's do this?
It was Andrew Baird stayed in, and, he told me, I wanted you last year. I want you again this year. If somebody keep wanting you like a woman, man, sometimes you just be like, all right, I'm going wild.
Let's do it.
I'm going where I wanted at, and let's do it. So that's what happened. He wanted me. I said, for you sticking with me and saying that, and after
1 minute
the injury, you still want me to come play. I'm coming to play for you because you're a loyal guy. You stayed by state saying you wanted me to come play for you. So, I'll come out and play for him this year and the staff and do whatever I can do to help him win.
You're going to have a fun conversation with Tack McKinley when you guys talk, because last year the Browns tried to claim Tack, I think 5 times off of waivers. They tried to trade for him. So I asked him the same question when he's like, they wanted me all last year. I knew I was going to end up here in free.
Yeah, 30. Me too. So I kind of had a feeling. So it was like one of them things like, I wish I would have came last year, but it was 12 games. But, everything happened for a reason. And I think I'm here at the right time. I think this was all about timing and everything. It's going to pan out like it's supposed to.
Jadeveon, this has been great.
10 seconds.
Welcome to the Browns, and you'll see. You're going to feel a lot of love from this city. We're excited, and can't wait to see you get in here and get to work.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, man. It's good to talk to you.
All right, you guys are up.
Boy, just really electric personality on him.
Great.
We noticed it in the presser yesterday. He said, they put footprints on the moon, and he's just been in the spotlight for so long. He was the #1 high school football player in the country coming out of high school in South Carolina. He was the guy that going into his junior year at South Carolina, that there was a lot of talk that he shouldn't even really play. The risk of injury is too big. You shouldn't play. You would have gone #1 in the previous draft. And so there's he's been in this light for so long. And I was thinking about this as you wrapped up the interview with him, Z, if you go back to 2016, 2017, and you think about, you would look around those rosters and you would just go, boy, where's it coming from? Where's the talent coming from? And it just wasn't there. It was all part of the long-term plan, obviously. But to think now that we will go into next season with Odell Beckham Jr., with Jadeveon Clowney, with Myles Garrett and Jarvis Landry, and this offensive line that we talk about so often, and Denzel Ward and John Johnson and Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, it's just so much star power. And it's really a remarkable thing. And I know that the last time that this was taught, I'm not going to use the dream team thing, but you know everybody on this team. Like, you don't have to look into a media guide and go, now who do we have starting here? You know them all by heart because they've all been in your football mind for years. They've all been there.
So Browns fans know that it has been a long time since the Browns were the team with household names. You would get a household name at the tail end of his career who was coming here to get a paycheck well after the peak of their performance had been seen on the gridiron. Not anymore. You're talking about these guys in their primes, household name, superstar players.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is John Johnson played in L.A., and his profile is going to be raised by becoming a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah.
That was not possible. That wasn't even a twinkle in our eye. That wasn't even a dream 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And this is where we are. And you were right to mention John Dorsey starting this process and Andrew Berry taking that ball and running with it. And Kevin Stefanski doing a great job. And this team and these players who made it realistic because of their execution, made it realistic for John Johnson to call this an opportunity of a lifetime, made it realistic for Jadeveon Clowney to say, yeah, I want to come here.
Yep.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it sure is. And I think because in LA, obviously there's so much attention around Donald and Ramsey on that defense that I don't know if people realize how good John Johnson is. I don't know if there's a full appreciation of how good that dude is.
Yep.
There will be. Rest assured there will be. But that guy, John Johnson's a dude. He is an absolute dude in the back end. And the two guys that'll be next to three safety sets are dudes. With Harrison and Delpit, my goodness, we know how we feel about him. So this is, it's a pretty remarkable set of circumstances, and it's interesting to think of, the acquisition of Odell Beckham Jr., the acquisition of Jadeveon Clowney, the drafting of these players, and everything that's come together, and it's a magical time to be. It's funny. I pick up the boys, and I picked up my oldest yesterday, and I said, well, the Browns got Jadeveon Clowney, and he's like, Dad, who don't we get? Like, it's normal. It's normal. Like, of course we get Jadeveon Clowney. Why wouldn't we have Jadeveon Clowney? It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy the world that they're.
The Browns just put out the bird call, and they all just come in. Let's go.
I thought you'd like that. Yeah,
Boy, did
I. Be a fan. What a treat.
I mean, Champions Parade is now all over your house. I couldn't be happier. I feel like, despite it being quarantine and us not doing anything social together, I feel like I've permeated the walls of Bishop Manor, and it makes me very pleased.
Well, certainly with one of them.
That's right. Well,
there's no question.
It's the prized pupil there.
It's the most important.
That's right.
Yeah, it really is. You could go like Ramsey Bolton. It's all in play, but right now he's certainly he's all in your palm. He's in the palm of your hand for you to work with. Yeah. Oh, it's lots of fun still ahead here on the program. We haven't even had a chance to talk about your vacation. We haven't had a chance to talk about the Masters contest, the Masters in general. So we'll get into that. We may even have a little trial as a girl. We'll get into all of that coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily here on a Thursday edition of the program. Beau Bishop from my great friends at Northeast Factory Direct. If you're sick and tired of your outdated kitchen, it's the perfect time to upgrade, and the perfect place to go is Northeast Factory Direct. They've got high-quality, name-brand furniture and hot tubs for about half the price of those fancy resale stores. Plus, at Northeast Factory, you can also get high-quality cabinets 60 to 70% less than you would expect to pay, and it is just simple. You make an appointment, you bring in some basic measurements, they're going to walk you through everything. And the best part is the appointment and the design are free. That is a rarity. Northeast Factory Direct cuts all the costs associated with traditional stores, so you can buy nice stuff at really incredible prices. It's pretty simple. They also have 0% financing available. That's right, 0% financing. So if you're thinking about remodeling your kitchen, it's simple. Go to northeastfactorydirect.com and schedule your appointment today. So you flew when? Saturday?
That's right. Flew down Saturday, back last night.
How was your Florida experience?
It's great. Keys
Two
were
Americas?
great. Isla Mirada. I would recommend if somebody's going to the Keys. My personal taste, I thought Isla Mirada was my favorite of the places down there. I liked it better than Key West. I thought it was just, if you felt kind of like you were in a Caribbean island. We found great food. If anybody goes down there, Gibbe gave me some great recommendations. Marker 88 was awesome for lunch, and these swings down by the water was just scenic, beautiful, great food. We had a place called Pierre's. Chef Michael's was also excellent, and Square Grouper was great. So we had some great meals, beautiful, beautiful weather. The water's beautiful. It was great. It was such a nice just to get away and have just kind of a respite and relax. I finished Cousin Sal's book, which was we had talked about when he had him on. I was texting with him. I was like, we've got to get you back on because now I have so many questions. It is the easiest and best read I could recommend. If you ever have listened to Cousin Sal, any of his podcasts or him and Simmons Guess the Lines, and you like it, just get this book because while it's I don't know, maybe it's a couple hundred pages at most. It's just a collection of stories that are anywhere from 1, 2 to 5 pages long. So they're all self-contained. And I would sit on the beach and I would be howling laughing. I mean, howling, laugh out loud, awesome. Funny. And one of the things he did was pulled off what I consider, and I told him this, I go, we do this whole story stealing thing, and in one of his stories is a story steal, but it is done on a level that is out of control. And I'll break it down for you like this real quickly because I think the story bears telling. He is a known prankster. Everybody knows whenever he wants it, like at this point he has to work really hard to be able to pull it off on friends because that's the first suspicion. So he had gotten an opportunity. Jimmy Kimmel, I don't know if you remember, hosted the, what's it called? The press corps thing for the president.
Oh, yeah, for the president.
Where you basically get to roast the president.
The Correspondence Dinner.
Correspondence Dinner. He emceed that. So we got to bring along a posse. This is during the Obama administration. And so his agent was there, Baby Doll Dixon, who was a character of his own that would make you laugh just reading the chapter about Baby Doll Dixon, who represents like Kimmel and Carolla and Simmons and Sal. Like his stable is.
The man's name is Baby Doll Dixon? I mean, you had me at that.
Because he calls everybody Baby Doll. Literally everybody.
Amazing.
Everybody. Men, women, everybody. Awesome. Baby Doll.
That's
and she's a chain smoker, and they on and on. Anyway, they're at this correspondence dinner. And so you got to take a picture with the Obamas by yourself, in a small group, or your whole group that was there could go and take a picture together. Baby Doll is apparently a huge Obama supporter, like was the biggest. Sal didn't even vote, so didn't vote for Obama, didn't even vote.
Didn't matter, yeah.
So he talks to Baby Doll and is like, look, I really want to take this picture with the Obamas with you. And Baby Doll's like, why, baby? What do you mean? That's weird. Take your own picture, baby. No, it would mean so much to me to have it on my mantle, a picture of me and you with the president. Like, that would mean the world to me. He's like, baby, you better not be pulling anything, baby. And he says, of course not. It's the president. Like, I have,
right. Who would do that?
This is a society. I have decorum. So they get up there to take this picture. Baby Doll finally agrees. And I shortened the back and forth. Like, he really had to ask about 20 times because Baby Doll knew this can't be good. So they get up to the Obamas, and they take this picture, and they exchange their little quick pleasantries. And at the very end, he says to the Obamas, he goes, I voted for you. He didn't. And leaves that as his walk-off. Baby Doll's jaw is on the floor. The Obamas say to him, because they say, you're going to get one more chance. Don't worry, you got one more chance to do the right thing. This guy donated money, was the biggest Obama supporter, but in front of him, steal story, I voted for you. This guy didn't. And Baby Doll never even got a chance to defend himself and walked off. And boy, to say he was hot would be an understatement, and Sal pulled off. But could you imagine if he had hit it right after this as he walked away from the Obamas and went, gave him one of these? Oh,
give me one of those.
What a moment it would have been.
Wow, that's good.
That's high stakes.
That is good.
That's high stakes.
It's incredibly high stakes. Yeah, the boy, you got to stick the landing on that. That's really tricky. Very, very tricky. Speaking of tricky, so last Thursday when we did our Masters competition,
bring this on.
and
this is an
drafted
outrageous
players,
accusation. Yep, that's right.
It's not your turn for the floor. When we did our Masters experience, somebody said that we would, I believe it was Gibby and you who said we would use the Masters app has this thing where we would use this as the guidelines. You would have a former champion, you'd have an international,
the Big Z,
an
my
American
rookie.
player.
What a performance.
And you would have a rookie as well. So this would be the way that we would do this.
Yep.
So you and I had McElroy and Johnson were our similars.
Yeah.
And then we had different guys. You had Zalatoris. Great, fantastic call out of you. I had Bobby McIntyre, and then you had DeChambeau, and who was a bum, and then I had Schauffele. So that was the look of it going in, and I knew by Thursday that Gibby was winning this thing, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, and then I saw as DeChambeau struggled, and I said, all right, well, very good. At least I know I'm not losing this thing. So I pay no attention to this. Mind you, I'm in lacrosse on the east side and basketball in Avon, and it's. So on Monday morning, I opened the app for the first time since we drafted, okay? For the first time since we drafted, I opened the app on, I think it's Monday morning. Yeah, because Gibby and I were talking about it. It was Monday morning. So I open it Monday, and I see that somehow you're in second place.
That's right.
I'm going, I don't understand. You had Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy like I did. Both didn't make the cut. While Zalatoris was great, Schauffele and McIntyre would be better than Zalatoris and
DeChambeau.
Look at your roster, and all of a sudden, like, you have Spieth and you have somebody else.
Justin
Rose. What the heck happened here? There you go, Rose. I'm going, what happened here? What is going on? And then I remembered you bringing up that on the app you could sub out the golfers.
I mentioned this on Friday's program because people were going to get cut.
Yeah.
And I said, once they get cut, you have the option to replace somebody. But I said, you're not going to win the contest anyway because if you guys got cut and somebody else had 4 who made the cut, you're not going to beat them.
Right.
Which I was correct about.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this is – so what am I on trial for exactly?
Well, so when we did the draft, it was under the I was not aware that we were using the app as the apparatus to administer the competition, but rather the ground rules to select the players. I did not sub out any other players, unaware that we were going to do that, and I don't believe Gibby did either.
Well, guess because Gibby's whole team made – if everybody made the cut, you couldn't.
Gibby had his same 4,
my one
and
guy
I had
didn't
my
make the
same
cut.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had one that didn't make the cut. And all of a sudden I see that you
Koepka.
have subbed out players.
Yeah, which I told you about on Friday's show before the cut.
I understood that it was part of the app competition, but not a part of our competition.
If you want to come in second in this, fine. I feel like there's first or your
No. We all lose. We all lose. Look, this is a misdemeanor.
What am I on trial for? I did nothing wrong. I told you exactly about it on Friday.
Didn't we say, like, winner gets to pick something, second gets something, third gets something in terms of saves?
The end result of this is that there will be golf. Gibby will do so for free.
Yeah, that's right.
that's
Gibby's
the end result of how this is going to be. You're going to be the winner in this whole
The
thing.
women
I
and
feel like, is
children
this a
at your clubs,
trial?
I'm coming.
I don't understand what this trial is.
Bring in the banana hammock.
I missed you
We're
too
gonna
much
get
to
crazy.
really go at you. I love you too much. I haven't seen you in so long. I don't have the same energy I had for Pedro.
No. Well, he actually committed transgression.
It was treasonous for sure.
Yeah, not me.
What were you able to watch the Masters?
I had a great Saturday when we were getting in. Yeah, Saturday night as we got in, we got ready. We ended up having an awesome dinner, but we got in that day. We're out at the beach, and then we were able to, as Miss K was getting ready, I was able to have the Masters because we had a very late dinner. I was able to get the Masters on the TV. I was able to get the first night of WrestleMania and watch The Miz wrestle Bad Bunny, which turned out they couldn't have gone any better. And then go out to dinner. So, yeah, I got to watch. It was great. Great.
Yeah.
Matsuyama was just dominant that second half of Saturday. It was over. I mean, it was just over.
Yeah, you missed that. You missed the drama of it because when Schauffele dunks it on 16, then it's done, and you're not going to be able to get anything at that point in terms of drama or any sort of
sad.
Yeah, did it or did it? All right, still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Be sure to catch the latest edition of the best podcast available. It's out today wherever you get your podcasts or by going to youtube.com/Browns. Brown safety. I'll be damned if I'm reading that. Grant Delpit's on this show?
Wait,
is that real?
On what show?
No, I'm done. I'm done. Next level's next. I may be back tomorrow. I don't know. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.